Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Morning.
Okay, I see some of the persons who submitted their draft or their outline are here bright and early. That is wonderful. So, in total, up to last night when I turned off my computer, I received 4 drafts. Anybody correct me if you think I missed you. Would you mind if I call the names of those who I received?
No, it's fine.
Fine. Okay, so I received Sarans, Dimitri, Ivania, and Simone. That's it. Did I miss anybody? And apparently not. Okay. So today's class is around the drafts and how you can improve. And of course, next week's class, we'll go over the last 2 chapters, which should help you with the 2 and 3. But I think 2 and 3, you should already be able to answer at this stage. All right, so let me give you some general points. Make notes. The issue with all of the drafts that I received is that you are not answering the question. So we're gonna go over the question again. Simone, when I looked at yours, you have a lot of information. I'm sure this surpasses the word count, but you have not answered the question.
For neither one? For none of them?
Hold on, I talk about number 1 now.
Oh, okay.
Number 1, you may have some information in here that you can use in answering the question, but you have to answer the question.
Okay.
You'll see why I say that in a little bit.
Okay.
Ivania, I looked at what you drafted. Your number 1, you only just gave 1 bullet point. So I would assume you haven't completed your research. So I left that one alone. She just gave me 1 bullet point. And Dimitri, your approach, no, you can't use that. You have to start again for number 1. You heard me, Dimitri?
Yes, I heard you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So now let's go to the question. The question, you still haven't figured out what it is that they're asking you to do. And the question is around, okay, have you read this document? The concealment of beneficial ownership. That's the first thing. Have you read that?
Yes.
Yes, okay. And you've read the FATF recommendation.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the question says, listen as I read it. As I read it, I'm going to tell you the critical words that where it's leading you to answer. It says, criminals employ a range of techniques and mechanisms. Now, the first thing is on criminals. And then they say range of techniques and mechanisms. Further down in the question, they give you some examples of what they are referring to as techniques and mechanisms. And they say they use these to obscure their ownership and control of illicitly obtained assets. So the first thing they're telling you is that there are some techniques and mechanisms of criminal use. They're not telling you that these techniques and mechanisms are wrong in totality. It's just that they are vulnerable. The persons who are in the criminal world. And they do it to make sure that you cannot identify who they are. So then being able to identify who is the true owner or who is exercising control. And then the key thing is that the word or the two words that they want you to focus on is that this represents a significant. What does significant mean?
The major.
Okay, challenge for prosecutors, law enforcement agencies, and intelligence practitioners across the globe. So right now, who is the main character in this question? There are two main characters in this one. One is a group and well, both are groups. Who are the two main characters?
Criminals and law enforcement.
Okay. The criminal and law enforcement and prosecutors and all those. So that's the two groups. Then they say schemes designed to obscure beneficial ownerships often employ a hide and seek sight strategy. What does that mean? That hide and seek strategy. See, because you have to be able to understand what is the challenge that is facing the law enforcement agents.
Meaning
What?
that it's so much in front of them that it would be missed because it's
No.
hiding in plain sight.
Yes, it's hidden in plain sight, but they say it's a strategy. What do they mean by that strategy? What is that hide and seek sight strategy?
The layering of companies.
Yes, that's what they're talking about. So you know that when you decide to answer this question, you have to speak about the hide and seek plain sight strategy. How is that done? How does that make it a challenge to the law enforcement agencies?
Ms. Archer,
Go ahead.
can I ask you this, please? Okay. I'm just trying to understand. Okay, they do the layering of companies, but it appears as if some, let's speak about the banking world. There's a threshold that some, I guess, based on a company's risk appetite, and I guess I'll have to look to see what the central bank requirements are. But there's some sort of threshold. What is it, 10 or 15%? Any shareholders above that that percentage, then those banks require well, all banks require KYC, but enhanced due diligence, blah blah blah. So and then from what I understand, some banks, they want beneficial ownership information for anybody that walks in the door, any company that you bring in the door. Right? Am I understanding this correctly?
Okay, so the first thing is let's step back from the beginning, when you first started from unit 1, right? You have an international framework. That's the FATF. And from the Bahamas, it's through the CFATF. But you have the FATF recommendation. That's international. Then you have your own domestic legislation. So that's your POCA and your FTRA and your FIU Act and the relevant regulations. Then you have your regulatory framework. That depends on whether you're in the banking and trust or money service business, or you're in the securities business, the money lending business, trading business, crypto business, or you're in the gaming business. Credit union also fall under the central bank.
One second, do we have to, can we choose an area? Can we just choose banking, or do we have to speak in general?
The way in which you answer this question is based upon how you present to the examiner your thesis statement. That's another point I'm going to get to, the style of writing. You guide the examiner where you want the examiner to go based upon the way in which you present your introduction and then your thesis statement.
So I can start like the vehicles in which criminals hide funds. I could start off and give a general statement about that, the way in which they do that. And then I could continue on by saying, for example, in the financial industry and blah, 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 blah happens. So you mean like that?
No, you got to make that more concise.
I am just so stumped with this question.
It's not stumping. It's when you write these questions, how have your grades been so far in 1 and 2? You got good grades?
One, I got a good grade. The second one I passed because they didn't like the style of which I answered the question.
Okay, all right. And I could see the style in the ones that I have received. At this level now, which is the last one, you're not going to get a good grade with these styles. They're not clear. One, they don't give the examiner the picture that you actually understand or grasp the concept of this whole topic. Not saying you don't know it, but you can't give it back to me the way it's written in the book. The examiner expects to see, one, you read the manual. Two, you have read all of the supporting documentations. So they're talking about all of the typologies, you've read recommendations, and you've also taken the time to find examples, either where you work, or you've done some internationally, or you've read other typologies from other regions to be able to explain how these things happen and how they work, and whether what the Bahamas is doing is in comparison to other jurisdictions. So this is why I always tell students, even if you've already done the ACAMS test, which is multiple choice, this is so much, this is different because it requires a deeper understanding, and you have to acquire that skill set to write in a very clear and coherent manner and just answering the question that is asked. And all of this is key at this point now, because if you are hired as an MLRO, once you finish this program, this is how they expect you to write. And if you are a subsidiary, or even if you are a standalone and you have to respond to the Attorney General's office, or you have to respond to your head office in another part of the world, you have to know how to answer the question that is being asked, because it can be presented in court. So you can't go all over the place talking about a lot of different things. What is the question? What is the issue? What is it that they're looking for? And that's key to understanding the question. So I'm not getting you scared.
Yeah, I am scared, to be honest.
No.
I am, because I've been working on this all week to try and send you something. And when I say stuck, I give a new meaning to the word stuck.
Okay, don't be stuck. Don't be stuck. Because you have to understand at this point what it is that they're looking for based upon everything that you've learned so far up to this point.
Okay, how I started to address the question was, okay, evaluate the extent of the issue. Extent of the issue is, I circle that first. What is the extent of the issue? So I started to speak about how criminals basically incorporate companies, different types of companies, the IBCs, the shell companies, the shelf companies, blah, 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 and how they incorporate those type of vehicles to hide the source of their wealth, or, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Is that incorrect?
No, that is correct. Now,
Okay, then I went, sorry, go ahead.
just based upon what you just said, you have that written down somewhere?
Yeah, I've already started to write my paper, but I am
All right.
so unsure and skeptical.
No, don't be unsure and skeptical. Now, what is the issue I told you just now? What is it you're seeking to answer?
Well, there's three parts of this question. The extent of the issue, then
Okay,
what are the difficulties associated with tracking ultimate beneficial ownership? And I would answer that by saying the different styles of how countries do business. For example, in the Bahamas, the difficulties in tracking this information is, for example, the threshold. What threshold does this bank have in place? What threshold does the other bank have in place? Because while I might have my KYC information, my CDD information, then I still have that percentage that I'm not getting information on. That could be my issue on why I can't track it. But if I have all of the CDD and the KYC information, outside of that, what is the next level of issues that might prevent me from being able to track
Register you do.
this properly?
Yes, you just heard it.
Sorry?
Public registry, that's what they're looking for.
Okay, yes, I spoke about the public registry.
Now, before you get any further, let's go back to the first point which you said,
Okay.
your introduction. So you said the issue is the challenge that faces the law enforcement agencies. And I'm just saying that, and I'm just putting everybody in one group. Right?
So the extent of the issues that I mentioned, the different types of companies, those are the different ways that they hide beneficial loan. That is the extent of the issues, mentioning the different types of companies that are incorporated, the vehicles used. That covers the
Okay.
extent of the issue.
No. No. Those are the techniques and the mechanisms. Now be mindful. If you list 6 items, you have to discuss 6 items. If you discuss nominee, shall, this, that, and that, you're going to have to explain each one of those. And be able to provide examples of each one.
But then, like for the first class, you said that we just need to probably zero in on IBCs then and discuss IBCs.
Is one, but you need some more.
So we could do IBCs, we could do shell companies,
Mm-hmm.
and then what?
They're very,
Trust,
could-
bearer shares. Just pick one more, you're saying?
yes. Or at least 3 to 4.
Okay, so, okay, and it's quite enough. So you said if we pick 3 or 4 vehicles, then we need to explain what they are, at minimum give definitions, right?
Yes, how they are utilized here in the Bahamas. How are they
Say
used?
3 or 4 of these, okay.
Mhm.
And
But
I
you
see
still-
the book, this beneficial ownership concealment book from the FATF speaks, I read the first page, speaks about shell front and shelf companies.
Yes, but here in the Bahamas, you know that we have other products that business owners use. Remember now, these are all products that are products on the market for any client to use. These are not products that we have designed for criminals. So don't let that close your mind as to the products that we offer or that other jurisdictions similar to ours offer, such as Cayman or Gibraltar, Guernsey, Gibraltar, Seychelles, Malta. They all offer the similar products as ours. If you read the typologies from other jurisdictions, you will see the similarity in the issues. Or if you read their report after their review, you begin to see the same issues that we have is what they have, the same challenges. But the question is asking you, what is the challenge of these law enforcement agencies? That is driving you to go and see what challenges have been reported by this body, law enforcement. What have they been saying about when they go to court? What is their challenge? So you're going to take the same information that you know by heart, which is products we use. You know all of the story that has been in the papers about public registry. You know the challenges faced. You know why the FATF wants it done. You know why the countries want it done. But they're not asking for the answer from that point of view. They want to know what happens when the law enforcement agencies go to court or the FIU practitioners are trying to make a case to go to court. Why is it that we don't have the number of cases going straight through the court system whereby someone is actually criminalized for their actions using these opaque structures? What are the challenges that they are facing? not what the FATF is facing, not what the jurisdictions are facing. What is it that this particular group of practitioners, what challenges are they facing due to these criminals using these shell companies, trust companies, IBCs, anonymous companies, nominee, what is it? What stops them from prosecuting? What stops them from investigating?
Doesn't it go right back to the lack of beneficial ownership information?
Yes, it does. But you have the right, we have to answer the question the way in which it is asked. They want you to take it from the angle of the law enforcement agencies. Now it sounds easier?
Nope.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I think so.
That's because
Yes, it does. Because see, the issue that you all are having is that you haven't dissected the question to see what angle the examiner is asking you to answer the question. If they wanted you to answer the way in which you all have done in the drafts, it didn't make any sense asking the question. Because what you have done is really just an extrapolation of what's in the book and what you know that's happening here locally. They've made it more difficult because they're telling you there's a wider audience to this issue. So yes, you could be on the way in which we are right now, which is public but not public. But they're telling you they're having an issue internationally because they cannot prosecute.
Well, internationally, everybody does not have the same beneficial ownership requirements.
Well, so again, it depends on the product that you're going to use as your example. You can state what the Bahamas has done, and then you can state what other jurisdictions have done.
Okay,
Now-
but you said we need to use at least 4 examples, right?
Yes. And when you state what the challenge is to a particular product, you're going to have to give the examiner an example of how that structure hindered the law enforcement agency from prosecuting someone.
I don't want to bump too forward, but part 3, it says measures that might be used to assist the problem, right?
Mhm.
I found that to be a little bit more easier, but maybe I'm wrong. But I spoke about a lot of things. I actually found an article. It was a very to the point article by, hang on one second, I have it right here. Also, I went on Transparency International.
Mhm.
They seem to be a very independent, opinionated, I don't know, company, because they speak about the FATF, but they don't necessarily always agree with the FATF either.
Mhm.
And
But the examiner is not expecting you to agree with everything that's in the book either.
yeah, oh shoots, I had it right here a minute ago. It's a very good, it was unlike this gigantic thing the FATF produced. I found a very small article on only because I'm looking for it right now, you know. It spoke about the issue. I want to find it because I really wanted to share it with the class too, because I thought that might have been helpful. Talk about the issue. It actually gave you the answers and all. Anyway, as the class goes, I'm sure I'm going to have it right because I have one desk. Oh, here it is. It's called, actually it's from LexisNexis. It's an old article from 2014, but it speaks about, it gives an overview of this, the harsh reality of life. It goes on to beneficial ownerships, the issue, beneficial ownership, the answers, and beneficial ownership, the reality. So I think it kind of compressed the entire beneficial ownership information like in 4 pages. But it lists the issues as anonymity. That's the first thing, and how criminals love anonymity. It says anonymity is a money launderer's best friend, and it speaks about beneficial ownership, a general idea of what, is and what the issues are. It actually gives about 5 examples. It speaks about a drug cartel of Victor Bout, this Russian guy who was an arms dealer. It speaks about shell companies. It speaks about how the US has a particular problem with beneficial ownership. Over 2 million corporations are formed in the US. It has the US otherwise strong rule of the perception of low risk makes US shell companies attractive. Then it goes on to, it gives you answers. In order to address the challenges presented by beneficial ownership, a truly global response is necessary. It speaks about the FATF and what it has in place. It gives a more compressed answer to this question, but it seems as if the compressed answer is not enough.
No,
Right.
no, because you still need the law enforcement angle of it.
Right, yeah. Let me find my I didn't submit anything because, like I say, I'm still stumped with this. I feel like the
No,
other
you're not
questions,
stopped. You're getting there.
I feel like the other questions on this paper are, we can deal with this, but
Yeah, this is the heavy one because this is 50. This is 50 points.
right.
So you have to get it right.
The measures to assist with the beneficial ownership issue, of course, a robust global standard needs to happen, which is not happening. We don't have a robust global standard. I have countries should adhere to the FATF's best practices.
Now hold on. Let's hold on. Go back to the first one.
Okay, I have the measures to assist with beneficial ownership issues. A robust global standard for beneficial ownership transparency should be required.
Stop right there.
Okay.
Who's responsible for that?
Well, each country individually, because the FATF is only a body that suggests best practices.
Mm-hmm. And so if you make that statement, examiner is going to say, did you read the FATF evaluation review on each jurisdiction? Who exactly are you talking about?
Should I say after that, however, each country, blah, 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 is?
No.
Okay.
You have to speak facts. Nothing
Well,
is right, but you're gonna have to qualify. You have to back that up with something.
Okay, I have a country should adhere to the FATF's best practice guidelines for BO for legal persons.
You say a country, letter A?
No, I itemized this. I put them in bullet points for this part of the question. This part of the question. In other words, the question is pretty much separated in 3 sections, right? This is the third part, which is measures that might be used to assist with the problem.
Okay, now
Okay.
that to correlate with the structures that you've discussed. You understand what I mean? Whatever measures you're proposing, the measures have to correlate with the whatever products that you listed in your first part when you did your evaluation.
Then we have to put measures. Say we have 4 examples: IBC, shell companies, trust, and something else. So we have 4 sets of different measures.
Yes, you need to have measures that correspond with those. So for each one, you have to say what are the measures that need to be put in place that's going to assist the law enforcement agency in moving forward and bringing these persons to before the court and having the cases tried and assets forfeited.
Okay. Go. Okay.
Anybody else? Because only Maria one has been speaking. So Simone, you have some of it in here, but you need to lay it out better.
Okay.
It has to really be clear and articulate, and there's a lot of words in here. You don't need
Right.
all of the words.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying, Ms. Archer. I just realized that this involves a whole lot of research.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
This is not just reading a couple of articles. This is
No.
diving into four
Right.
different vehicles and supporting the four different vehicles with the other two parts of the question.
And
Okay.
another,
All right,
then
I understand.
before-
I understand what you're asking me for. It's just a lot of more research. Okay.
okay. And then I'm looking for the same references. Like in that one question, they don't expect you 4 references and you're repeating a different section on every other page. That won't help you. You really have to research this topic. And they're looking for not just examples of where the law enforcement agencies has issues before this whole drive for public registry, but they're also looking at to see if you're up to date as to what is happening right now. That's where the challenge comes from you as a student. What is happening right now? So you need to know what was happening historically before. You need what was happening as other countries were changing, such as the big countries. What have places like the United States done? Because they have their own little countries in between that issue these same kind. What have they done? And then, of course, when they attack all of these other countries like us, and the measures that we have put in place, how has that really helped the law enforcement agency? Will it help? So this is what they're asking you for. And this question could be written in a way whereby at the end, the examiner can see that, yes, measures have been put in place, and even our jurisdiction has put things in place. Being mindful that looking at what other countries have done, we may have to do more, or we may have to do less, or we are able to stand on our own. They don't want a plain vanilla answer. When you did your first question, it is written that way just for them to see that conceptually you understand what is money laundering and how it can occur. This is your last one, and they expect you to give this your best shot. And this is worth 50 points because this is the issue that is on the table now, internationally. And if they can't get into the heads of the new incoming MLROs, that this issue has to be resolved, and that you all are going to be the ones who are going to be giving advice, suggestions, or recommendations to the Attorney General's office going forward as to how we can address this issue. For the country itself to get a better rating, for the jurisdiction to get a better rating, for the Caribbean region to get a better rating, then they have failed.
Question, Ms. Archer, does the US have any beneficial ownership requirements at all?
I don't follow them. You have to research it. I don't remember reading anything on the US.
I know they said that Britain and the UK has beneficial ownership requirements, but
Mhm.
do we have to speak about, we don't have to speak about the US if we're using UK and but everybody does business through the US, so we're gonna have to speak about the US too, eh?
Well, it depends again, like I said, it depends on when you start the paper, you start the question by giving an introduction, which means you narrow it down for the examiner, your understanding of what the question is asking you. Your second paragraph then speaks to your thesis statement. Now that thesis statement states the products that you're going to actually discuss. And you're going to tell him how you are approaching it. So if you're going to write it in a way whereby you're using your company as an example, and your company has American clients, then you can give a better, fuller answer. Everything depends on how you write it.
Okay, okay, I understand.
Right. So you could just do it on a global perspective, which means you could do it from the Bahamas viewpoint and other jurisdictions like us. Like all the names I called before, Malta, Gibraltar, Cayman, or Gibraltar, all them other ones.
Panama
Good.
too, right? Panama.
And well, Panama is not really an offshore, but Panama, like the United States, offers those products. So you could do it by region or you could do it by products. Yeah, so Simone, you have to lay this out a little bit different. Now that we've gone over it, you understand what I mean, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Just to make it clear. And okay, Dimitri, you just gave me an outline, but you need to go over that again. I think
you
you understand now what you need to do.
Could I take out all of the part where I talk about LLCs, like an overview? Should I just take all that out?
Yes, all that out, all that.
Okay.
You can use this like your point to come back to for pointers, but you really need to
Okay.
answer the question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can't get away with 3 examples, say Miss Archer, instead of 4. You think 4 is, we can't get away with 3?
You may not have enough words.
Oh, I love enough words. I might not be saying what they want to hear. Though.
Yeah, well, that's true too. That's true too. But I know 4 will get you there.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Ivania on? Yeah, I see Ivania here. Ivania, you only gave me 1 bullet point, but you understand now what you need to do.
I came like a 10 minutes late, but I listened to it over. I made some points, but I understand where you guys was talking about using the 4 examples and then talking about how it affects the law enforcement. Because from that first class, I didn't fully grasp that we looking at the law enforcement side of it, but I think how it affects the law.
I didn't give it to you last class because I wanted you to figure it out.
Oh yeah, I had a little moment, but I get it on. Yeah, I get that.
Okay.
One more question, Ms.
Thank
Archer.
you.
Is there anything else that I could just totally throw?
You mean in your draft? Let's see. Well, you only really spoke about 1 product.
Yeah. So maybe focus less on that and put some meat.
No, you need. Yeah, you need more products.
Okay.
Hold on. Because that is too long.
Yeah.
And then there's a section on challenges. The challenges is referring to the challenges faced by law enforcement.
Okay.
Not what you wrote here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Ms. Archer, quick question with that. We're speaking, you said find your 4 examples. We can we could speak about those the issues faced with those examples, like you say, in similar countries, the Guernsey, the Cayman, blah blah blah. Do we, when we speak about the challenges with law enforcement, do we speak about in general challenges, or do we speak about challenges in the Bahamas and Guernsey and Cayman? How do we do that? Do I
you need law enforcement information. Any one of those examples, yes. A report from the FIU in the Bahamas,
Okay,
court.
so yeah, so I don't have to be all over. I could give, okay, I don't have to be all over the place with the law enforcement
You
part.
don't. Unless you're writing a general paper. I tell you, everything begins on your thesis statement. Going to take how you're answering it, you have to have that. Your statement must tell examiner the direction in which you're taking it. Now this is due October the what?
11.
11th?
I'm gonna do my other two questions and get them out of the way and come back to this.
Yeah, because I'm looking at how many weeks you have left. 3? Okay, so the
Almost
other
4.
4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2 and 3 should not take you long.
Yeah, B and C, I think I need to get B and C out of the way and come back to this because I think this could cost me to run out of time with this.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to go and do some research. Mm-hmm. Yep. So we good now with question number 1. In terms of those who submitted, they have at least a start in reformatting it and trying to set it out very clearly. For those who haven't, I mean, I hope you would have started it because you will, just like Maria said, you're gonna get frustrated.
Yeah, this isn't the best. This is not the best question.
Now-
Ms. Archer,
Go ahead.
okay, so the way, I just want to clear it up because,
Go ahead.
okay, so after we didn't say that thesis, you say you was like four mechanisms, like the shell companies, the IB, well, not mechanisms, the products that are the companies that they use. And
Mhm.
then say how that has hindered the law enforcement agencies.
That's your evaluation.
That's the
Look at the
okay.
question, right? The question then asks you to evaluate the extent of the issue. So you're gonna have to give them a couple paragraphs on how your evaluation is based upon the cases you have found on by these law enforcement agencies. You're gonna explain to them the extent of it. How wide is it? Is it just geared towards certain jurisdictions that have a certain structure or certain legislation? Or is it geared towards all of the law enforcement agencies globally having this issue based on these types of structures? The way in which introduction, your thesis, is then determined by how you evaluate the issue. And reading from the papers that I have, you all have not evaluated the issue. You need to go and find out what it is that is stopping that group or body of law enforcement agencies from moving forward. What is it
Okay.
now, today?
Okay.
And what was it in the past?
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Everybody else is silent. Tiandra, Annie, Angela.
Well, last week I told you it was on my paper and you told me it was wrong. So I knew I had to start all over. So I just been researches.
Oh.
It didn't make sense sending it to you because I
Oh, okay.
started just taking out stuff. So that's why you didn't get anything from me because
Okay.
you told me it was wrong.
Okay, all right.
Still working
What?
on trying to approach it, but I'm listening to everybody and, seeing how the best way to approach this question because it is kind of difficult and it does require a lot of research.
Yeah.
Good
it
morning,
does.
Mr. Archer. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Morning,
Okay.
Ms. Archer. This is Annie Curtis.
Mhm. Go ahead.
I basically completed question 1, but now
Mhm.
hearing the feedback and so forth, I need to go and make some changes. But I have some of the points that were mentioned, but I still need to do some more work on it based on, the feedback that you gave.
Okay. Okay. Now, the key, hold on, before I forget this point, because I had this point to say few minutes back. Just a small point. The key to answering a 50-point question, I know you're all gonna groan and moan, but if you ask former students, they'll tell you it works. You need to rewrite that. That's the same number 1, at least 5 times. Fine tuning it. Write it over and write it over until it's so clear as if you actually wrote a novel. Anybody can read it and understand it, not just you. You can't write it once and expect to get a high grade. Can't. Okay, next point. Who's going to say something just now? Angela?
That was me, but I forgot. I forgot now.
Quick as
Oh,
that?
oh, what I wanted to say, yeah, getting old. What I wanted to say was, can we submit to you at a later date? Is that okay?
No, but that question was that comment was in question was not coming up. What later date you talking about?
No, like how you asked us to send you a draft and whatever. Could I send you a draft of this at a later date and get your feedback?
What's the later date?
Oh, I gonna go do questions 2 and 3. I gonna go do B and C. It ain't gonna be this week.
What kind of thing this is?
I just wonder if you're gonna hold my hand close to the 11th.
Who the who? No. Not close to the 11th.
So that ship has sailed then, okay.
I can have a look at your second drafts. If you send it to me. Okay, y'all want to do B and C next week.
Yeah.
But you'll have to give me the second draft by the following week.
Yeah, I'll try. Other than that, I know I just lost my chance. That's all.
No, you work hard.
So we have to give you this, Angela, we have to give you B and T by the end of the week.
Do I really need to see B and C?
Doesn't hurt.
I'm asking you.
Yes, I mean, for draft purposes, yes, just to make sure.
Ha! Say just to make sure.
Well, the fact that but the fact that you're willing to help us, we don't want to lose the opportunity. Now, if you were not willing to assist, then we know. But the fact that you already offered,
Yeah.
But we're not looking a gift horse in the mouth. We want to accept the opportunity.
Yeah, to make sure that we on in the right direction.
Yeah, because ICA could get you a little gun shy.
Oh, okay. I only want to phone to put it on peroxide. Okay, so you say gun shy. All right. So number 1, we good now, right?
Yeah, right.
I'd say better off. I wouldn't say good.
Yeah, I would say a little bit better off. I agree.
You all are too funny. Okay. Now, let's go to B and C. Let me turn my page. Simone, you're on page. Okay, B1. Hold on, Dimitri, let me turn to your B1. Okay, so B1 says, what B says in general, in a jurisdiction of your choice, Bahamas, in relation to the obligation to report knowledge or consequences of failing to report instances of money laundering. Now, Dimitri, you just jotted down some points, so I guess it was 1 and 2. If I take your first 2, that would be fine, even though I don't know what some of these letters mean. What is PCAA? I don't know what that is. Maybe it's just a typo. Okay, so your outline appears to be fine, but like I said, you have to write it to see if you're on the right track, like when you expand it. Ivania,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Now these what you gave me, these are just your talking points, eh?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so give me 2, 4, 6, 8. Too many.
Okay, so narrow them down to like 3, 4, and then
Yep.
expand.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Now you have it in front of you.
I'm opening it up right now. I have it right here.
Okay. And Simone, you have some of the answers in here. Too many words. You're repeating the same thing over and over again.
Okay.
Okay, yours open up, Ivania.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, now to someone who didn't let me go to Maria or Jensen. Who's Jensen? I didn't hear Jensen speak. Delissa, McKinsey. Is she on? It says here Delissa McKinsey. Anyhow, Dimitri, what is B1 asking you for?
It says, explain the consequences of failing to report instances of money laundering.
Okay, all right. So now let me go to Maria. Maria, in your first paragraph, what are you going to talk about?
Okay, I think, well, we have explained the cons. Okay, I think there's internal consequences as a firm. For example, basically it's detrimental to your own business.
Mhm.
You have, could I stick in the legal and the reputational risk and that type of thing in there? You know, the other risks?
Let me let Simone answer that for you. Simone, can she do that?
I'm sorry, Maria, could you repeat?
Okay. Okay, I said, okay, first, the question is explain the consequences of failing to report instances of money laundering. So I said I would start with the internal consequences. For example, if you're not submitting STRs to your MLRO, or you're submitting your STRs to your MLRO and she's doing nothing with it, or he is doing nothing with it. It's the internal consequences, a loss within a firm, you're doing business with criminals, basically. So it can lead to reputational risk, legal risk, all of the other listed risks. I can't remember. That came up in another question, or that was one of my answers. But the different risks like that internally at the branch level or at the company level, those risks internally, because it might not get to a point as yet where the authorities know or the regulators know that you're not reporting your instances of money laundering. And then I'll move on to the other consequences, the regulators, that law enforcement, and basically at the end of the day being fined or losing your license and that type of thing. That's how I would have approached that.
Okay.
Is it talking about a company or is it talking about the Bahamas as a jurisdiction?
I would answer it as your firm. It says in a jurisdiction, so I would only think about jurisdiction. I think in general, worldwide, you would have the regular risk, the legal, the reputation, and all of that type of risk. I think that's where I would speak about jurisdiction when it comes to the regulators in our jurisdiction. You know, the FIU, the central bank, that type, you know, those are regulators in our jurisdiction. So I would kind of approach that from the risks within our company, and then the risk in terms of law enforcement and the regulators.
Okay.
Well, I mean, in my case, I started out by pointing out legislation, because in my mind, that's the first thing that comes to me when they talk about consequences. So right away, you know, I looked at the FTRA, HOCA, the Financial Intelligence Transactions Reporting Regulations, and then I concluded with talking about consequences that the firm may encounter, but I don't know.
Okay.
Preferred over the
You
other.
mean you all don't know? Who else? Annie, how would you answer this?
That's Annie Curtis, so Annie Hepburn.
Anyone?
Well, what I jotted down was the legislation, she mentioned just now, the Proceeds of Crime Act, Central Bank, the FTRA Act, and then from there, I said I would mention the penalties for non-reporting, and then the different risks that a firm could possibly face for non-reporting.
Okay, so all of you are for all of you, the approach is the same, but that's not what the examiner is looking for. He doesn't want you to answer it like that. He asks you explain the consequences. So your first paragraph is supposed to speak about the consequences. Maria was right. Simone, you're right. And even Evania, you're hitting on it partly. When you speak about the consequences relate to the risk to the firm, some of which you have identified. So when you write, you have to speak about the risk that's most likely to occur due to the failure to report. So be careful on which risk you select.
What do you mean by that, Ms. Archer? Be careful which risk we select.
Because you're gonna, whatever risk, the risk has to be related to the consequence of not filing. Don't just list the risk because it is a risk.
Okay, all right. So you're saying that we don't need to, okay, we're talking about, hold on. Explain consequences, failure. Okay, this is consequences to the firm itself, right? Which would be the internal risk, as well as the internal risks, bad reputation. The legal risk would kick in at the point where it's discovered by the authorities. What are the other risks? So you're saying I lost myself just then.
There are lots of risks. We have almost 15 or 17 risks.
Right. So we can speak to how many? 3? Is that enough?
4.
You like this number 4, Ms. Archer? You really like this 4 thing?
Yes, because you see, if you only give the examiner 2 or 3, you don't show the examiner that you're well read.
Okay, all right. So we speak about 4 risks legal reputation, and I'm sure there's others like you say,
There
and
are-
then of course there's the legal consequences. All right, okay,
Okay, I got along.
okay.
the very
Ms. Archer,
mm-hmm.
so, okay, looking at the way I kind of set it up, I kind of hinted, okay, I had the legal with the fines and stuff with poker, and then I did the reputational, and saying the business risk would have been indirectly more, but it kind of been more so related, well, a result of the reputational risk. So don't
Yeah.
set it up like that then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fine?
Those are the risks, yes. So
Oh.
I still have reputational risk as a bullet point, and then you
Let's-
made about when profits and sales decrease, but that's not a risk. You have to say what the risk is, and then
Okay.
explain.
Okay.
Yeah, legal, reputational, operational, and we can choose one more.
Yes. And when you speak about the fines, please do not list it verbatim.
Yes,
You can-
ma'am. Okay.
You can actually state what the fine is in probably, let me see, 14 or 15 words.
Okay.
If you lift that, they'll take off points.
And then we could just reference it then. We could just say 14 or 15 words and then reference the fine page, the document and all of that.
No, you have to state the fine.
No, I know you're saying 14 to 15 words, but you know, if we reference the actual part of the regulation or of the proceed,
Yeah,
what you call it?
reference. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could Proceeds of Crime Act, but all the
Right.
rest, I put that in your own words,
Right, okay, all right.
right? So Simone and yours is too long. And then you repeated it. You got to make it short. Because all of that falls under regulatory and criminal, and so you just need it short. That's the consequence of it.
Okay.
And the same thing for the FTRA, you make it short.
Okay.
No. So whenever you speak about risk, I know when y'all did your risk assessment section. So you're going to say, what are the consequences? But whenever you have consequences, what time you address these risks? Who's speaking? That's Maria?
Maria, yes, Maria, sorry.
ahead.
Yeah, well, the risks, well, training, first of all, right? Training always is the first solution,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Consequence of failing to report, is that training?
Oh, no, sorry. I don't think that's what you said, but I don't remember what you said at the first, the consequences.
Okay, the first part is you've identified the risk. You're going to explain these risks,
Right. Mhm.
right? So I'm saying what's associated with risk. Now you gave me training. That's the point I'm going to come to overall. I think I have it noted here somewhere else. You all need to understand the difference between certain concepts, because I see it mix up in a lot of different places, but I'll come back to that at the end. So if you have risk, any kind of risk, when you did risk assessment, once you've identified a risk, what do you have to do? It says,
Mitigation, you need to come up with mitigation strategies.
Strategy to try and mitigate it.
yes. So the second part of B1 is you need to speak about how do you mitigate against the risk? And that's very short. So all you really giving the examiner is some mitigation against yeah.
For each of the risks, right?
No, you just do summation.
Okay.
You're not writing no long spiel now. You're writing one paragraph. And then you can list your remedial actions. How would you remediate the risk above? So in your mind, if you wish to prioritize based upon the risk and the way in which you listed it above, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you just want to say my remedial action, the remedial action that the firm should take against failure to report, and you can put 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it.
Okay. We could do list revisiting the firm's risk appetite. Can we list that?
That's if you explain what that means.
Well, obviously, if people are, I don't know if companies are just blatantly not blatantly not reporting. If they're failing, if I look at the word failing to report, it almost appears as if training is necessary. First of all, they don't know that they should have reported. So, or maybe the risk appetite of the firm is too big. So maybe you could revisit the risk appetite to see, maybe that needs to be tweaked. Why, it's the risk appetite of the firm might be huge, and that's why they're not reporting certain things.
So
No?
what is, well, don't forget now, the risk appetite is really just a strategy of the firm in order to gain business.
Right. And
Once
maybe
you-
they're trying to gain too much business and have a huge risk appetite.
Okay, so how that is narrowed down is by what? How do you address that risk appetite in order to protect the firm against these risks? It's all based upon what? Your policies and procedures.
Right. Right.
So it's not the appetite, it's your policies and procedures.
Okay, all right, okay.
This approach.
Okay.
Because the appetite is only going to speak about where your clients are going to come from.
Okay, all right. That's clear.
Okay. Everybody happy now?
That's fine.
Okay. Now let me see. Oh, and Avanya, there's no need to talk about the knowledge and suspicion. That's not what the question is asking you for. Take that out.
Yes, ma'am.
Take that out. That's not relevant at all. And if you're able to give an example, it's fine. Even though the question is very small in that section, if you can give at least 3 examples when you state your risk, you get some points. So don't say I didn't tell you. You need B2. B2 says describe and evaluate the key elements of an effective system for suspicious activity reporting within a regulated firm using examples with which you are familiar. Okay, so now what are they asking you? Let me see what Simone gave me. Too many words. Oh, oh, Simone, make sure you don't make this mistake when you write your paper. The MLRO is not assigned. The MLRO is appointed.
Okay,
Don't use that word assigned.
okay.
Okay, now comes my part. When I read your answer for B, you have to understand the difference between a process and a framework. Now, I don't know when you started this, if you all would have raised that question as students, or the lecturer would have explained to you the difference between a framework versus a policy versus a procedure. They're different things. So in your response for B. Simone, you have processes. This question is not about process. It asks you, what are the key elements? So what is it looking for?
Like the characteristics of an effective system.
Which is,
My answer sound like that ain't it.
pick out on here because there's a lot of stuff in here.
Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5th paragraph, 2nd line. You have one there.
3, 4, 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2nd sentence. Just after the word Bahamas.
Prompt investigations.
That don't say that.
I can't count it. 1, 2.
No, before that. 2 words, 3 words before that. You're on the right line. The Bahamas must establish
Procedures.
procedures. So one of the key components of an effective SDR system is having policies and procedures. That's one.
I thought I mentioned that in here.
You have it in this paragraph number 5.
Okay. Okay.
Now, your explanation for the procedure. That is, I don't understand what the point you're making. If you say that's a key component, what does that mean? That they must have procedures.
This is still the 5th paragraph.
Yes. What you need the procedures for? What's the purpose?
So they can be followed and adhered to.
Guidance.
But do you get procedures by itself?
It comes from experience. Would you
No. Remember what I just said. Write this down. You have, just jot it down so you can always remember. You have an international framework. You have a domestic framework. Then you have your firm framework, the institution where you work. Then you have policies. Then you have procedures. So if you're looking at one of the key components of SDRs for reporting it, it means that you must have one, policies and procedures. An examiner is looking for you to tell him now, yes, one of the key components is for filing, you must have policies and procedure. Now in that policies and procedure, what is the key thing that triggers or ensures that the filing is done? That's the comment that they want from you. Is that Maria?
regulatory guidelines? No?
What do you mean?
All right, sorry, I missed that.
No, what do you mean when you say regulatory guidelines?
Saying within the policies and procedures, I would say, whatever guidelines are sent down to firms or banks from the central bank. No?
Okay,
Am I
yeah,
off?
no, you are right, but you cannot write that in your answer. Tell me how you're going to phrase that.
Oh, boy.
Hmm?
Describe and evaluate the
You going lower. Speak up,
Sorry,
some.
yeah. No, that's some the neighbors weed whacker going. So sorry.
Oh. With the skill saw. Go ahead. How you going to say that?
Let me pass. Let me regroup my mind. Let somebody else answer. Let me.
Let's go to Simone because she wrote plenty on this. Simone.
Sorry, I stepped away. Could you repeat that?
Oh, we're on now, right? We said one of the first things you said that should be in your suspicious activity reporting system to make it effective is having policies and procedures. And the comment was made about making sure that you comply with the central bank guidelines. And I'm saying, how are you going to write that?
As I mentioned a tad bit about that here, but
Go ahead.
I don't know. I just kind of threw that in here. If that should have been written in another
Yeah,
format.
you have it right here. You said prompt investigations of suspicious activity reporting to the FIU. MLRO to establish close relationships with the FIU.
Mhm.
SFIs must advise the central bank of any names of COO or MLRO and
Right.
provide that they are fit and proper. Okay, so that's apple and oranges there. Lastly, the CBV is to be notified of any changes of the MLRO. No.
That came straight from their guidelines.
Yeah, but that doesn't answer the question though. The question is saying a firm must have an effective system within its organization to report
Right.
and to report suspicious transaction. And it's asking you what are the key components that should be in that effective system.
Right.
So the first one we are saying is policies and procedures. So in that policy and procedure, what should it actually stipulate? Should it not say how it should be reported?
Right. And to whom?
Right? And then you provide a footnote to the examiner where that would be in the So you're showing the examiner that one of the key things is you have the policies and procedure. The policies and procedures set out how the suspicious transaction is to be reported, to whom it should be reported, how it should be reported.
Right.
And then of course, all the key elements. What's the main element? The main element is what? You have to justify the report.
Right. So you have to give your, right, you have to give your.
MLRO have to give their reasoning as to why they're filing the report. That is key. And of course, he added that if they're not filing it, they have to document that also.
Right.
So you had one. Let me see what Ivania had. Okay, Ivania, when I read yours is long. The issue you have is you have to differentiate between task and components. Some of the things you listed here is a task. So you put things like managing alerts. That's not a key element. That's not a key element for suspicious transaction report and filing.
Okay.
That is a task. The component you want is what? What's the component you? It's not managing alerts.
Is that
So-
like you were saying, with the policy and the procedure?
Well, if you want to use managing alerts as one of it, then you need to put the word monitoring.
I think I had monitoring. Oh, I probably didn't write it.
You
Okay.
put you have managing alerts. Then you have decision making. So instead of decision making, you need to have the explanation which you gave instead, which is an escalation process.
Okay.
You see, so you're using the task instead of using the component.
Oh, okay. Now I understand what you mean.
You have them in reverse. The training is
Okay.
fine. So what this B part is looking for is key components, policies and procedures. Let me see who had the next one. You didn't have it. You just have listed elements, Dimitri. I see you have your Ivania training. That's another one. That's another key component. So you need at least 4 of these, 4 or 5
Okay.
key components.
Is the retention of records also one of them?
Yes, it is. I can't give you all the answers, you know, only could guide you in terms of what you need to write.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so because I mentioned the retention of records, how would we, I mean, so you just state the period of time and the reason why we keep it?
Yes.
Okay.
And not only the reason why you keep it, explain that to me. Let me not feed the answer.
Okay, well, I know, just say for example, like with the CDC, the KYC, anyway, like how we keep stuff just in case if authorities need to come back, just say like 2 or 3 years down the line, you keep it, like for your referencing. So if they need something for a case or something like that, you would have it once they bring the proper, be able to produce that to them like that. That makes sense?
Too vague.
Darn.
I heard you.
Oh my God.
What do you mean you don't know?
No. I think it. Okay, give me a second. I come back.
I'm coming back. If
Hi, Ms. Secretary.
Vanya, you have it in yours. You see it?
Because I mentioned it, the period of time.
Mention it, yeah. But you didn't expand on it. Why?
Yeah. I can put it there.
You can put it there? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So Simone, you see what I said?
Hi, Ms. Secretary.
Go ahead.
Yes, sorry, Jensen. Yeah, I have a few more key elements. Perhaps I can chime in. I know I haven't been participating as much in the discussion,
Go ahead.
but I do have my drafts for question 2.
Okay.
So
right.
in addition to the ones we've mentioned so far, with the policies, procedures, and guidelines, as well as the transaction reporting requirements, there's also the employment of a risk rating methodology where clients are assigned a rating based on a level of risk, and the higher risk clients would be subject to enhanced monitoring and due diligence. And then by extension, there's the ongoing periodic reviews where the client's relationship is assessed based on the risk rating applied, whether it's yearly or twice yearly, which allows the institution to note any changes in the client's profile. There's also the KYC and due diligence requirements, where we build a profile for the client that includes their source of funds, the purpose of the account, the monthly potential activity, and then that allows us to see whether or not they're remaining within that profile, and if they're operating outside of it, then that would generate suspicion and by extension reporting as need be. And then of course there's a transaction monitoring. Most entities have reports that are generated to identify transactions that are above the jurisdiction's threshold. Like for example, the 10,000 in the Bahamas, so any transaction over that amount would be
15.
assessed from an AML perspective.
15 and
as well. Sorry. Oh, well, okay. Yeah. Well, yes, there's a country limit, and then of course the organization's limit. And so, yeah, well, with us, it'll be the 10, but yes, 15 in general. And then, of course, the requirement to submit DSFs and UARs, which would fall under the transaction reporting
Okay, so
requirements.
my question to you now is, all those things you just listed, right? How are they key in filing an SDR?
Okay, well, for example, if we don't have a profile on the client, like for example, the source of funds for the account or the monthly potential activity, I mean, then there's really nothing to assess their transaction history by. Like if you have a monthly potential activity, for example, where the client says, they go into deposit, up to 5,000, there'll be up to 5,000 in credits and 2,000 in withdrawals, for example. And we see based on our transaction monitoring, the reports that are generated that, they're depositing 50 of that threshold, then, that would generate suspicion. Same as with the source of funds, if the source of funds is employment and the funds coming into the account are, proceeds of a business or things that are outside of the profile we established for them as it relates to employment, that would generate suspicion. So, I mean, I'm just listing the key elements, but I mean, I do have the information as to how these things tie into reporting or makes reporting easier or would prompt someone to report based on what we have established.
Okay, when you rewrite it, make sure some of the items that you're listed are not already incorporated in the other processes. Do you do this on a daily basis? Do you do AML now?
To an extent, yes. It's a part of what I do. Yes.
Okay, so be careful. Don't list steps within a processes as a component by itself.
Right. So I have 5 points. So what I would have listed would be under the 5 categories that I have.
Yeah, some of those are subsets of others.
Right. Agreed.
Okay.
So I have 5 and then
right. So try not, you may list 5 and the examiner may say he only really see 2 because it's a subset.
Right. Agreed. Okay.
So just be careful.
Hi, Ms. Archer, Simone again.
Yes, Simone.
Well, so far you suggest I just start from scratch?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow.
You have some of it in here. Like I say, you have policies and procedures. The last paragraph, no, not the last, the 6th paragraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're talking about the MLRO.
Right.
Reporting lines, that can stay.
Okay.
But you need to reword that.
Okay.
Let me see. That's 4. No.
Okay.
Yeah. You could see what else. Let me see. No. I only see 2. Let me see the last one. At the last paragraph, I don't know.
Oh, that was me attempting,
To put an example of something that happened, right?
right, something that was,
Under the real estate sector.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I put a question mark to that. I don't know what you meant. I couldn't get if this was an example or what.
Yeah, it was supposed to be an example where I referenced I don't know if you would have seen it probably with the FIU, like they sent out a public notice for this man who was attempting to purchase real estate, I think from like 2013 to 2016. So that was me saying that because that company would have had whatever in place and they realized that different things were like fraudulent and stuff, that's how they were able to effectively file a report. And, you know, the FIU was able to do its job. And like, just explaining that's an instance where because they did what they was supposed to do, the FIU was able to do what they were supposed to do.
And so which component did they have that caught this? Because that's where you're gonna have to tie this into one of the components. Was it their policies and procedures? Was it their reporting lines? What is it? Retention of records? You have to tie it into something. You can't just be there hanging.
Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tie it into something.
Okay.
All right. So we now have C. And let me see for C. Let me see what my comments were. Dimitri, I'll go to you. Dimitri, you get plenty of work to do, you know. Okay. Dimitri, my note just says, okay, but I have to read what you write to see how you're presenting these bullet points.
Okay, no problem.
So what's C about, Ivania?
Okay, it's basically asking us to.
Come on, you've already drafted something. Why you have to be thinking so?
Okay, so basically what I did to analyze the compliance rule, basically what they do and why is it important. And then the last part saying evaluate the measures that could be taken to improve. I guess to talk about like, lost a lot of the word is about the culture, like the yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So if I go over to Simone, this is very, very long. It asks you to analyze the rule in terms of protecting the firm, right? So you gave me 2 paragraphs. And if I was the examiner, I wouldn't know, have no clue about the role. Let me see if I could pick one out. Oh yeah, I did pick one out. I have it here. You have in the second paragraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th line. You say that the compliance function advises senior management on any laws related to compliance. I
Okay.
saw that one. Versus if I go to Vanya, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 functions of the compliance.
That's too much?
Yes, it is too many, because what the question is asking you is what? Is asking you they want the functions that talk about protection, not just in general, protection.
Oh, okay. So then I gotta take a couple of these. So I'd only keep guides and provides training, identifies and measures the risk, develop, monitor, and then I guess the last one, but ensuring the institution follows the thing. But technically that would be okay. Okay.
You understand what I mean?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. So the question is asking you is, they want you to say, based on that role, what are the ones that help to protect the institution from money laundering? So Simone, you see where you went wrong in your answer?
Um,
Like you have in the second paragraph, 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th line from the end. You have the identification, documentation, and assessment of compliance risks linked to a firm's business activities. What does that mean? Are you talking about risk rating?
One second. I can't even remember. Just customer relationship.
Now be careful of your wording. Certain words you can't change. Certain words are AML words.
Right.
Okay? So the identification documentation, to me, if I'm speaking AML, I think you're talking about passport, national insurance card, identity card, because you're saying identification documentation.
Right.
But if you just use the word due diligence, documentation,
Right.
be careful of the words you use. So the first part is asking you to list the function of the compliance officer that protects the firm from money laundering risk. So you ask yourself the question, when you select a function, does this protect the firm against money laundering risk? So Ivania, you have some of them here, but you need to put some of these together.
That's right.
Like the very first one, the
Yes,
very
ma'am.
first point, you don't need to put the body. You need to make it general. And then when you go inside the little paragraph to explain it, then you
Yes,
can
ma'am.
the various bodies who you'll do this to.
Okay.
So be good, Simone.
I
Don't
mean,
sound
I feel more comfortable, now that we've gone a little bit deeper, but I wouldn't say I good yet.
Okay, but
Get it?
what you do first is you list the compliance functions, just
Right.
like Ivania did, but then you want to pick the ones that would protect against money laundering and then expand on it.
Okay. Okay, that's good.
Okay, so we're not finished with C now. C tells you to do something else. It tells you to evaluate what measures can be taken to improve and develop the compliance culture. So let me see what you gave me for that one. You gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 5, I don't know what that means.
Let's see.
4, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Mind telling us what those two are, so I don't include them in my page?
Ask her, she knows.
That's what I'm asking her now, if she minds.
Okay, let me just read the paragraph for a second to myself. It can ensure that this is adequate and constantly upgraded. Okay, so my fourth one talks about the allocation of resources. So in my mind, thinking about this, if you have a monitoring system to monitor your transactions, you may have to, tweak that as time goes on. So, I mean, I know that I haven't personally worked like directly with, like, I guess.
I know.
So,
my question, but see, whenever you write these and you finish with it, ask yourself, how does that improve culture?
Okay.
That's the question I ask myself. How does this improve a company's AML culture?
Okay, so.
And then the next one, what does that mean?
The fifth one?
The one right after the one you just read. What does that mean?
So, a lot of times, a lot of companies are concerned with the bottom line. So, you have a lot of pressure from upper level management and stuff to kind of, look at the numbers first. So sometimes compliance just kind of gets thrown to the side. So this part talks about, having an appreciation for meeting your company's goals as it relates to the dollar, but also seeing the value that compliance brings. So yeah, that's what I was trying to say. I don't know if that shouldn't be there or the way that I put it in didn't come across that way.
Trying to see.
You have to think this hard. The examiners probably do too. So I would say I'm just scrapped.
Pick it up. Yeah. And then your third one. How does that affect culture? That's a task. I know. Think about that one again. The 1 and 2 can go into one.
Okay.
So at least you have one. You have two, and the last one is fine.
Okay.
Ivania, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The third one,
Yes, ma'am.
that's a good one. The fourth one, I don't know what that means, because you could tie that into the third one.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
And the next one after that too. All of them is under that same heading.
Okay.
All of that is one. Let's see what you have. The first one, because I only take that one.
Mhm.
The second one is fine. You don't need the first 3 words. Look at the
Okay.
second.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, yeah. Okay.
But you have to expand on that.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Yeah, where your focus is. The first one,
I feel like it may be a little bit irrelevant.
yeah, it doesn't really speak to, and you miss out the main one.
I missed one?
Mm-hmm. Well, you only have one. Well, 2
Yeah,
really.
2.
You only have,
Okay.
you need some more.
Then we should
Okay,
aim
so
for 4.
we need like 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay.
3 to 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So where's my calendar? Hold on, class. I'm gonna give you some things. So class next week is what the day is. So on the 25th is where we do the last 2 chapters, correct? And based upon so for Dimitri, Saran, Avanya, and Simone, if I could have your revision of your numbers 2 and 3 by Thursday night.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Ivania,
Yes, ma'am.
Simone, I write my names down. Saran and Dimitri. I'll have your version number 2 on Thursday.
Okay.
Anybody else who wants to send those? I know Maria, I think she said she had drafted already. So Maria, if yours is ready, you could send it on Thursday.
Yeah,
Every-
I'm gonna work on my BNC and send it to you for Thursday.
Okay. Everybody else who just going to start their BNC, in order for me to read them, it depends on, because I see more people on and started this morning. I'd say Friday by 1.
Okay, Friday by
You don't-
1.
Yeah. In order for me to read all of them.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
Miss Archer, I'm just sorry for
Go ahead.
interrupting. I'm just catching up. This is DeAndre Ramsey. Last week I missed the class, so I would just be catching up. I need to actually watch last week's class, but I did not start yet. So
Oh my
you would
God.
prefer to see? Yeah, I doing a couple things at once, couple courses at once, but my focus is on this week. So I know some persons would have already submitted A.
2 or 3, then that's what it is.
Okay,
But whatever you
but
can,
I will, yeah, I'll send my B and C for sure. And then I'll tackle the A, which seems to be a lot.
okay, so now that's next one then. Question number 1. When is due?
That's,
Is due when?
okay.
October
This 11th, right?
11 is a holiday here.
Yeah. Mhm.
And that means that you want to submit this as a class by Friday, the 8th.
Okay.
Sometimes there's issues uploading on the last day. You know that, right? Sometimes there's technical issues. You don't want to wait until the 11th to send it.
Oh, I didn't know you could have sent it before the 11th.
Well, I've known in the past you could. I don't know what it is now. Read and see.
Yeah, I submit before. I haven't had a problem submitting before the
Okay.
deadline.
I know you could submit before, but I know things change. So after you send this next week, you have 1. You only have 2 weeks. So the following Friday, can I have number 1?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's the second, right? Oh,
The second for the 4 of you. And Mama Maria did her first one already, so she's gonna do some tweaking to that. Because remember now, when you send me that version on the 1st of October, you're going to rewrite that again. No, because you're gonna have to tidy it up and you gotta make sure that it's read properly. You're looking for spelling mistakes. Take off points for all of those things.
Okay, so October 1 is question A to you.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Number 1.
Me too, Annie Eburn.
So by midnight on Friday, I will read all that I have. And I'll send you comments back.
For B and C.
Hmm?
For B and C?
No, number 1.
Oh, for number 1, that's October 1st. And you
Yes.
said we have until lunchtime Friday for B and C, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So you need to start writing. And I saw a couple, I think Ivani was yours, some spelling mistakes. Try not to when you correcting, don't do this Google correct, please.
Okay.
You know that correct? Yeah,
Autocorrect, yes, ma'am.
you really need to read it and make sure that you have the right spelling.
Yes, ma'am, okay.
Because I saw some. If I see any when you send it back again, I will just circulate. I'll just circle it and then I'll tell you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Thank you. Yes,
All
ma'am.
right. So get to work. If you can, if your draft is ready before Thursday, feel free to send it.
Very much appreciated, Ms. Archer. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
Thank you.
Good work.
Great help.
All right.
Point us in the right direction.
All righty-o. I'll hear from you all next week.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Okay.